So you made it here today, no problems, no snow, only drizzling rain.
Well, it snowed all morning over there.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, heavily.
Oh,
Yeah.
We only got rain here.
Yes, I spoke to JP in the morning.
How many feet up higher are you?
Probably like 1,000, maybe a little bit more.
Oh, because we're at 3,000, so you're at 4,000.
Oh, so then we are more. We're at 4,500 or so.
Wow, really?
4,300, something like this.
I wouldn't think so in Pinehurst.
Yeah.
Because from Pinehurst you have to keep going up.
Oh yeah, you can still go further up.
Oh, yeah.
Much further.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the national park where the tall trees are is about 6,000 there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're 4,500, you're saying, huh?
Yeah, just under. I think if I remember correctly, it was like 4,370 something. I have to check again. I have an altimeter.
So it's cooler there in the winter.
Yes.
And cooler in the summer.
And cooler in the summer as well.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, with the microphone, you can say the Jai Dhwani. You also know how to say the Jai Dhwani?
No.
He somehow learned it.
Yeah, on his own.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Jai Shri Gurudev Haridas Ki Hari Ramani Rabbi Hari Jai Haranayana Shishma Prabhu Radha Guru Ki Jai
Jai.
Shri Jagannath Bale Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Jiv Ki Jai Shri Lakshmi Narsingh Rev Ki Jai Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai Shri Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Shri Guru Parampara Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srila Gurudev Ki Jai Jai Nadyale Prashnam Vishpar Paramahamsa Priyvrajgacharya Stodra Shishman Bhagavad Gyan Bharati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nadyale Prashnam Vishpar Paramahamsa Priyvrajgacharya Stodra Shishman Bhaktivedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nadyale Prashnam Vishpar Stodra Shishman Bhakti Balabhati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nadyale Prashnam Vishpar Stodra Shishman Bhaktivedanta Bhavan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nadyale Prashnam Vishpar Stodra Shishman Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nadyale Prashnam Vishpar Stodra Shishman Guru Swami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nadyale Prashnam Vishpar Stodra Shishman Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Nadyale Prashnam Vishpar Stodra Shishman Bhakti Taman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nadyale Prashnam Vishpar Stodra Shishman Bhakti Pragyan Kesh Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nadyale Prashnam Vishpar Stodra Shishman Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nadyale Prashnam Vishpar Stodra Shishman Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Nadyale Prashnam Vishpar Stodra Shishman Jagar Guru Bhakti Srahanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai Mahaparambha Guru Parvar Paramahamsa Srila Gaur Kishoras Bhakti Maharaj Ki Jai Sattam Goswami Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Mahashay Ki Jai Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Bhakti Maharaj Ki Jai Srila Vedanta Charya Srila Kalye Vidhi Bhushan Prabhu Ki Jai Srila Mahamahoparyaya Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur Ki Jai Srila Raskanand Prabhu Ki Jai Srila Ramachandra Kaviraj Ki Jai Srila Naruttam Srinivas Shamanand Prabhu Trai Ki Jai Srila Krishnas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Hare Kavi Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai Jai Shri Rushi Sanatan Patra Raghunath Shri Gopal Patidas Raghunath Shar Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Srila Lokanath Goswami Ki Jai Srila Bhugar Goswami Ki Jai Shri Ashtavaraj Ki Jai Shri Chashati Mahanta Ki Jai Prem Se Go Shri Namachari Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Go Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Rudigararha Shri Sri Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Ishwar Parpar Ki Jai Shri Marvindra Parpar Ki Jai Shri Antardev Marco Simandev Gadundev Mahadev Kuledev Kuledev Janedev Madhav Rumadev Gurudev Matmaka Shri Navdev Dham Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Kapilavida Kavidana Dushatvanata Matha Shri Brajmandal Dham Ki Jai Shri Radhakun Shankan Gangmai Urmonamai Thilas Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Shri Mati Vrinda Devi Ki Jai Shri Parmasi Yogmai Ki Jai Shri Vishwan Mahadev Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Bale Subhadra Sarashan Chakra Jiv Ki Jai Shri Kshetra Mandal Dham Ki Jai Sarva Vikram Nishkari Bhakta Vikram Vinasha Shri Nrasingh Rev Ki Jai Bhakta Pravara Shri Blad Maharaj Ki Jai Chari Ram Ki Jai Chari Sampradaya Ki Jai Chari Achari Ki Jai Karan Madra Shri Chaitanya Mat Ki Jai Shri Gurman Vrind Ki Jai Karantara Shri Man Bhagavatam Ki Jai Shri Man Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai श्री माँ चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय, श्री चैतन्य भगवत की जय, सर्व गौरी वैष्णव ग्रंथ वृंद की जय, श्री आनंद गुरु वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री समगत भक्त वृंद की जय, स्नेहिताय गौर प्रमानंदे।
Hari Hari Bol. Very good. Very good. I like your Jai Dhwani. You've put in all the necessary personalities. Very good.
I found a video of Padmanabha Maharaj chanting it.
Oh, that's how you learned. In disciplic succession, huh?
In one way.
Huh?
In one sense.
Yes, because you saw him. So in his line, you're doing a Jai Dhwani very complete because he's known for that. Yes, he's done very long Jai Dhwanis. I've not been there, but I've heard from devotees who have been there with him here in California at his program. And he did the longest one they've ever heard. Probably at least twice as long or 3 times as long as what you did. So.
The one I found was 15 minutes.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Oh, it's on where? YouTube?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. I'm going to look that up. I want to hear it for myself. I like Padmanabha Maharaj very much. Okay. Bandeham Shri Guru Shri Jutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahabhadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gaura Tishe Namaha Nityanandam Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalau Kalmashanashaya Janava Pataye Namaha Ajanulambita Bujo Kanakavadato Sankirtanaika Pitaro Kamalaya Taksho Vishwambaro Dvijavaro Jugadharma Palo Bande Jagat Priyakaro Karunavataro Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Bhaktya Vihina Aparadha Lakshay Kshiptascha Kamari Taranga Madhye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Vrinde Namaste Charanar Vindam Brindai Tulsi Devbai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarashata Sri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. Then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And my Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Shri Shri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga. And my Dandavat Pranams to all of the Vaishnavas and all of the Vaishnavis. So just reviewing a little bit from yesterday, the section titled The Necessity for Both Householders and Renunciants to Accept Initiation into Krishna Nam and Krishna Mantra, and the necessity of accepting Guru. That is what is being explained here, the necessity. The necessity for both householders and renunciants to accept initiation into Krishna Nam and Krishna Mantra. What is Krishna Mantra?
Gopal Mantra?
Yes. And generally means Gayatri mantras that we are given in our disciplic succession. And also the necessity of accepting a Guru. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying for the proper conduct for Vaishnavas, whether householders or renunciant, is being explained. This proper conduct means sadvritti, and that's the topic of this entire essay. Sato vritte, the last item in the verse beginning with Utsahan Nischayat Dhairyat. The 6 favorable activities for the Vaishnavas. We're at the final one of those 6. And we've been reading. It's a very, very long essay. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting from so many places, especially Chaitanya Charitamrita, and showing how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Vaishnavas, his own associates, how they lived, what was their behavior, all of that, their sadachar. So here, this proper behavior, proper conduct for Vaishnavas, doesn't matter what ashram, renunciate, householder, it is the same. So here now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying there is no religious duty in this Kali Yuga other than chanting of Sri Krishna Mantra and Sri Krishna Nam. That we should deposit into our intelligence and our memory very deep. What did he just say? In this Kali Yuga, there is no religious duty other than what?
Chanting Krishna.
With the mic.
other than chanting Krishna Nam and Krishna Mantra?
Yes. No other religious duty. If somebody comes and tries to tell you that here, this is a process that you should follow, but they are not telling you to chant Krishna Nam and Krishna Mantra, then they're bogus. Their process is bogus. It is not according to the system of Guru Parampara. So hence, it is extremely necessary for all to accept initiation, Diksha, into Sri Krishna Mantra. Now, he's quoting from 7th chapter of Adi Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, 3 different verses. Krishna Mantra hoite habe samsara mochan. Krishna Nam hoite pabe Krishna Racharan. So, Krishna Mantra hoite means from chanting Krishna Mantra, habe samsara mochan. From chanting Krishna Mantra, one will attain freedom from material bondage. Samsara mochan. Then Krishna Nam hoite. From chanting Krishna Nam, pabe Krishna Racharan. One will attain the lotus feet of Krishna. So what do you attain from chanting Krishna Mantra? Microphone? Either of you?
The lotus feet of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and freedom from material bondage.
No, I said from Krishna Mantra. There's 2 separate attainments.
A freedom from material bondage by
Yes.
chanting Krishna Mantra.
Yes, and then Krishna Nam hoite, from Krishna Nam.
Attainment of Sri Krishna's lotus feet.
Yes, pabe Krishna Charan. There is a difference. This is very thoroughly explained by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, actually, in his book Sri Guru and His Grace. I'll explain to you briefly what he tells there. Actually, in the book, there's a diagram of 2 circles. One circle is big, and inside of that circle is another smaller circle, okay? Now, what he's explaining there is the smaller circle represents Diksha mantras, Krishna mantra, and that smaller circle, it has a range that it covers. Because it's smaller, it doesn't go to the highest point, and it cannot be accepted from the very lowest point. I'll explain this. So, what is the highest point that it can go? Liberation. One can attain liberation from chanting Krishna mantra, Diksha mantra. And who can chant it? Who's qualified to receive that? It doesn't go to the lowest point. It requires qualification. That is why Krishna mantra is not given here, there, and everywhere to anyone and anyone. Everyone and anyone. But the bigger circle is representing what? Krishna Nam, Hari Nam, Mahamantra, chanting the names of Krishna. And that bigger circle goes to the topmost point, unlike the smaller circle, right? If you look at the top of the circle, it goes to the topmost point, and it also reaches down to the lowest point. Yes, what is the lowest point? Anyone. Anyone. This Krishna Nam, the holy names of Krishna, can be given to anyone. Jai Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Jiva Ki Jai. And thus we see the activities of our acharyas. And all throughout the Vedas, all throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, Ramayana, Mahabharata, everywhere. The lowest persons, can you name a couple of the lowest persons mentioned in the Shastras to whom Krishna Nam was given? Yes?
Jagai Madai,
Yes.
Nagari,
Yes.
the prostitute with Namacharya Haridas Thakur.
Mm-hmm. Valmiki.
Oh yeah, Valmiki.
Yes.
He was so fallen he couldn't even say the name Ram.
We're using microphone
Oh,
because it's on Facebook, so they can't hear unless we use a mic.
Valmiki,
Yeah.
when he was first given the mantra by Nard Muni, chant Ram. Because of his fallen state, he couldn't even say Ram. So Narada Muni, being very tricky and smart also, said, say it backwards. Mara, 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 Mara. And eventually, it's actually, as it rolls off your tongue, it eventually is saying Ram.
Did you ever actually read that story? I mean, I've heard it so many times, but have you ever read it anywhere in the Ramayana and so forth?
No.
I'd like to find that story.
It would be good to get
and
the
hear
full
the
details.
Yeah, yeah. No, but that's a fact.
If
And,
you ever
and what
feel-
was Valmiki's nature? I mean, what was his condition in the beginning when he was approached by Narada Muni?
He was wretched, sense gratification buyer,
Yeah.
and a killer.
Yes, he was a murderer,
Yes, a murderer.
criminal,
Yeah, murder.
very
Even
bad,
worse
bad
than killing.
person.
Killing is one thing, but murdering is another.
Yes.
This is bad, very bad, premeditated.
Right. So what happened? Tell the story.
I can't tell the whole story.
No,
That's
just,
not part
you
of the
know,
Ramayana I know so well. Nard Muni
in short.
found him,
Yeah.
and he wanted him to become liberated. I know the story of Murari much better. I'm not
No,
that familiar.
but Narada, as you already told, he gave him
The mantra,
the mantra, but he
backwards.
couldn't
Reverse.
chant.
Yes.
When he tried to say Ram, his mouth would not pronounce it.
He could not speak it. And
Yes.
it shows,
He was so sinful, his mouth would not even be pronounced.
yes.
Ram.
Yes, if you can imagine being so sinful
Yeah.
that you couldn't say the name of Krishna. It wouldn't come out of your
Ram,
mouth.
in this specific Ram.
A specific, but in this
Yeah.
particular case, Ram or
Yes.
Nishringa, any of the Lord's names, but in this particular incident, it was, he gave him this mantra for whatever reason, because it was his destiny to speak Ramayana. Therefore, he was a Ram Bhakta. And Narada Muni, knowing the nature of every different personality, gave him, oh, you should speak the name of Ram and you will become purified from your sins of being a murderer. But when he tried to speak it, it was like being tongue-tied. It just wouldn't come out. But Narada, being very intelligent,
He didn't tell him to say backwards, though.
he didn't.
No, he just told, so instead of that name, you pronounce this one. Mara, 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 Mara. And then he could pronounce it, because what does Mara mean?
Death.
Yeah, it means death. That's a very nice thing for him. So Mara, 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 Ram, 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 Ram. And it became Ram.
To be understood, as he became purified,
Yeah,
then it became Ram.
that's right. And then he got supremely purified and realized by the mercy of Narada Muni all transcendental truth, and he became the author of Ramayana, all the pastimes of Lord Ram.
Also, he gave shelter to Sita Devi and her two sons, Lav and Kush, and he actually trained them
Yes.
because he also had this, top skills of a Kshatriya. And they became such archers, they were actually able to defeat Lakshman, Hanuman, everybody. Even they gave Ram a battle for his life.
Ramayana is always very, very unique and entertaining.
Yes.
So, all right. So in that example of the two circles, Krishna Nam goes to the highest point also. It reaches down to the lowest, and anyone can chant. And it also goes to the highest point, far beyond liberation. It brings one directly to the lotus feet of Krishna, as it's told here. Krishna Nam Hoite Pabe Krishnera Charan. One attains the lotus feet of Krishna. and naturally he attains prem. So, the next verse is saying, Nam vina kali kale nahi aradharma. Nam vina means without nam, other than nam, Krishna nam. Kali kale, in this time of Kali Yuga, nahi aradharma. There is no other dharma. Without nam, no other dharma. Sarva mantra, sar nam, e shastra marma. That means that all, the essence of all mantras is nam. The essence of all mantras, sarva mantra sar, it is Krishna nam. E shastra marma, yes. That means all shastras are declaring this fact. This is Mahaprabhu speaking. Then he says, Krishna name jai ananda sindhu asvadan. That means through Krishna nam, an ocean of ananda will be tasted by the devotee. Ananda sindhu asvadan. Then Brahmanda tar age kato daka sama. Brahmananda. Brahmananda tar age. Brahmananda means what? The happiness attained by impersonalists who want to experience Brahma and experience the happiness of attaining liberation of the impersonal Brahman. But actually, it is said here, the bliss of attaining the impersonal Brahma is but a drop compared to the bliss attained upon accepting shelter of Krishna Nam. These are the statements of the realized acharyas. So, then he says, Sada nam labe jata labete santosh. E matta achar kore bhakti dharma posh. Therefore, being satisfied, santosh means to be satisfied. Therefore, being satisfied with whatever one gets to maintain one's life, one ought to constantly perform kirtan of Krishna Nam. That means, don't make your life one of pursuing so many objects of this world, dharma, artha, kam. No. Be satisfied because according to one's karma, one will do some particular activity, some work, and will attain. By Krishna's will, you will attain what is needed. So here's saying, be satisfied with that. Just always, sada nam labe. Always chant Harinam. Always chant Harinam. E mata achar kore bhakti dharma posh. Yes. One ought to constantly perform kirtan of Krishna Nam. And automatically, following in this way, one should also propagate bhakti dharma. One should also be a proponent of bhakti to the general people, right? Then, Gyan Karma Yog Dharme Nahi Krishna Vas. What does this mean? This means that Gyan, the pathway of Gyan, the pathway of Karma, the pathway of Yoga, and Dharma also, that means Varnashram Dharma, Nahi Krishna Vas. One cannot attain, Krishna cannot, here it says, Sri Krishna cannot be controlled by Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, or other processes. He can only be controlled through Prem Bhakti, Krishna Vasha. Krishna Vasha means that Krishna is subdued, he's controlled. Hetu Ek, only one cause can control Krishna, Prem Bhakti Ras. That is all. Prem Bhakti Ras. So that's the first point being made in this section. And the second point is the necessity of accepting Guru. And who is a Guru? We read it yesterday, but I'm repeating it because it's very essential. There are 3 shlokas being quoted here from the 8th chapter of Madhya Lila. That means the chapter in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is hearing from who? Ramananda Roy. Ramananda Roy Samvad. So, but this verse is spoken actually by Mahaprabhu to Ramananda Roy. Because Ramananda Roy is hesitant. He's feeling shy because he's actually in the category of a Shudra. Although he's a royal post, but he's doing the activity of a Shudra.
What was his activity, Maharaj?
Well, it's like a cleric in the government. Some high post. I don't know all the details.
I thought he had like a royal position.
It is a royal position. For the royalty, he's doing that. He is assisting. Just like Rupa and Sanatan. They also assisted the king, but very high post. But technically, it was a Shudra's position, Ramananda Roy. So, he was hesitant because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in sannyas ashram, and so exalted personality, right? So, but Mahaprabhu came there specifically. He seeked out Ramananda Roy because who suggested that he should meet Ramananda Roy? Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
Right.
Yes. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, topmost scholar in all of India, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He was also teaching the Mayavad Shankaracharya philosophy of Vedanta Sutra to hundreds of sannyasis that came to Jagannath Puri to hear from him. What kind of scholar, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya? But, of course, we know how Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was converted by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after his conversion, he never again wanted to hear the word mukti, liberation. He did not want to even hear the word, because he had spent his whole life glorifying mukti, mukti, mukti. So he even changed the word in one shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam to Mahaprabhu. He would not pronounce the word, he changed it to bhakti. Yes. So anyway, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was very closely associated with the king of Puri, the royal order, and so forth. And he knew of this person named Ramananda Roy. He had heard his name many times. And I think perhaps he met him also, I'm not sure. But he knew of his very high realizations that he had. However, he told to Mahaprabhu, he said, I used to think of him as a sentimentalist, but now, since I have been brought to this pathway of bhakti, now I see actually he is topmost Rasik, Mahabhagavad Vaishnava. You should try to meet him, he told that to Mahaprabhu. When Mahaprabhu was going to go on his first South Indian tour, just after taking sannyas, he came to Puri, stayed for some time, and then he was going to leave to go on his long journey throughout South India, which lasted something like 2 years. And so, what was his objective? To meet Ramananda Roy. But he gave a different excuse why he was going to South India by foot, traveling all over South India. You know what excuse that he gave?
There were a couple. One, he wanted to visit all the places of pilgrimage because there's many holy sites there, but also to liberate some of the Mayavad sannyasis, which he did, 60,000 of them.
Yeah. But that's not the excuse he gave.
Oh, that's not the excuse.
When he was going to South India, he gave a reason why he's now going to go to South India on a journey. You don't remember?
I don't remember that one. How about a clue?
To search for his brother, Vishwarupa.
Vishwarupa. Yes, of course.
Yes.
That was his excuse to search for his brother
Yes.
who was missing.
Who he had heard, who had taken sannyas, and was known by the sannyasi name of Shankar Aranya. And actually he did locate, not locate, but he, in the course of his tour, he received news.
That he passed.
Yes, that his brother Vishwarup had gone to the spiritual world. And actually news was received by Mahaprabhu in the middle of his observance of the 4 months, Chaturmasya. And then, having heard that his brother departed, very Vedic custom to shave one's head. So Mahaprabhu shaved, even though it was Chaturmasya. This is the reason why in our line of Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, and that option is given. Not all of the Gaudiya Math lines are observing this, but we shave after the 2 months. So 2 months and 2 months.
And it's called Vishwarup Mahotsava.
Yes, the day that he received that news and shaved his head. It's right it's on a full moon day. And that's the famous day when Srila Gurudev, every year after Prabhupada's departure from this world, Srila Gurudev would always host ISKCON devotees and ISKCON leaders in his temple in Mathura, where Srila Prabhupada had taken sannyas, because Prabhupada also took sannyas on Vishwarupa Mahotsav day from Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. And not only that, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj had also taken sannyas on that day from Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj in Katha, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas. See? So, although Mahaprabhu gave that excuse or reason for his journey, actually his one main objective was to meet Ramananda Rai. Yes. Why did he want to meet Ramananda Rai? What was his reason for wanting to meet Ramananda Rai? Very important. Very important.
Could be a few reasons, but one is he is also Vishaka Devi Dasi. And is one.
Not Dasi.
Devi. Dasi.
Yeah. You said Devi Dasi.
Devi.
Vishaka Devi.
From the Goloka Vrindavan. One of the top luxuries. Who is his, Radharani's assistant. And Mahaprabhu.
Did you say top manjaris?
No. Top gopi.
Yes.
Gopis.
Ashtasakis.
Yeah, Ashtasaki gopi. And of course, she could help give instruction because it's Mahaprabhu.
Oh, you're not using the microphone. Oh, I forgot. You be in charge of passing out the mic.
You pass the mic. So he wanted to meet him for that reason, because he was in this role of Krishna, but with the mood and complexion of Srimati Radharani. But he needed help. He needed instruction. He could not do it on his own.
What could he not do?
He could not understand and taste everything he had come to taste without help, without assistance.
Explain that a little.
Yeah, and
what was it that he was trying to taste?
He's trying to taste the pleasure that Srimati Radharani is tasting, which he can't taste, or couldn't taste in the form of Krishna. It's described that Gurudev would say, and it's inconceivable for us to even begin to understand, but he would say that Radharani's enjoying millions and millions of times more than Krishna. So Krishna wanted to find out what it was in him that she was finding so relishable from many different aspects and angles, and he needed help. He had Gadadhar Pandit, who was Radharani herself, who came to help, but he needed everybody's help. So he had to locate everyone. So this was very convenient in going to South India to be able to find him, because he was, as Maharaj explained, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya mentioned that he should go find her. But he also got Swarup Damodar, who is Lalita Devi Saki. So he was gathering everyone that he needed to gather to help him in his pastimes and to help him in learning how to taste this ras that he had come to this world to taste, which was one of his main reasons for coming.
What's the actual reason why he needed help? He's Krishna. He's Supreme Lord. He's all-powerful, all-knowing, everything. But yet, he needed help? Why? And from who, specifically? What kind of help did he need? And why did he need that help?
Well, he's the Lord.
This is all in the 4th chapter
It's
of
all in the
Adi
4th
Leela.
chapter.
Adi Leela thoroughly explains all of this. Yeah, go
Well,
on.
I could only give a feeble attempt.
Yeah,
But
that's
I
okay.
would say that Krishna himself has different potencies and shaktis. And he's not in charge of the pleasure potency. Srimati Radharani is in charge of the pleasure potency. So that's why he needed help, because this was something that he wanted to see and experience what his devotees, especially his topmost devotee, Srimati Radharani, was experiencing. So it wasn't within him to experience that.
How can he not be in charge of his own potency?
Well, that's a good question, Maharaj. I have to think on that for a minute, but it would kind of make sense that there's the energy and there's the energetic.
Yeah.
And this is a type of potency. And the Lord certainly has the potency, and the Lord certainly is enjoying, but it's described that the Lord and all of his potencies are one, right? He's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everything is combined within there. But for the purpose of Leela, he separates into two. So in that expansion of two, one, in this particular case, Srimati Radharani has this taste of seva, service towards her beloved. And she is feeling more pleasure in that than him. So he can't taste it. He can't taste that same pleasure that she's tasting.
Why?
I don't know why
It's
the
an-
sky blue.
it's an
I don't
important
know.
question.
It
Why?
is. Why he can't taste it.
Yeah. Why is Krishna incapable of tasting it? Jai Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Ki Jai.
I'll have to think about it. You already
It's
know.
actually very
It's
simple.
very simple. It's very
It's a
simple.
very simple point, which is the basis of all rasa tattva. It's the basis of the explanation of Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the whole science of rasa.
I know another answer.
Yeah.
May not be the answer, but
Yeah,
it's
try.
an important point that Gurudev explained.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Srimati Radharani is one-pointed. Her love is directed in a one-pointed way towards Krishna, whereas Gurudev explained, Krishna has so many responsibilities. He has, 16,108 wives. And every one of those wives has 10 sons and 1 daughter. So his love is divided. And that's just, step A, right? But all those wives, all those palaces, he's in charge of Dwarka. He's the prince of Dwarka. He has so many responsibilities going on the battlefield. He's helping, Arjuna and the Pandavas. He's ridding of the demons. Even when he was in Braj, he has his cowherd boyfriends. He has his parents. His love is very spread out, whereas her love is completely one-pointed. So in that way, he's not capable of being one-pointed towards her in the same way. He has to have some division of his energies. So that may not be the answer you're looking for, but it's certainly a relevant fact.
It's true what you said, but that's not the reason.
Okay, I accept that. But
That's
still a
an
good
explanation
point, right?
for another conception,
Okay.
is how Krishna is not one-pointed. But the question is, why does Krishna need help to taste Srimati Radhika's prem?
Well,
And
maybe
like I
that's
said,
part of the-
it's a very simple.
Yeah. Well,
question.
one thing, it's very hard to taste yourself. Maybe that's part of the answer. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, but to relish yourself is a little difficult. But someone else, can appreciate you. Even Krishna himself, he looked in the mirror when he was in Gokul, the pillars. They have jeweled pillars with mirrors in them. And Krishna looked and he saw this personality in the mirror, and he became totally stunned. Who is this person? He's so attractive. And then when he would move, and then the mirror would move, he thought someone was mimicking him. It was very, Gurudev explains it in a very, charming way. But Krishna, it's very difficult to appreciate yourself the way someone else would appreciate you. And that, Srimati Radharani, so he wanted to know, what is it in me that is so attractive to her?
True.
That's true also.
That's describing his desires. You see, you're hinging on one of the desires of Krishna that caused him to want to descend. His primary purpose of descending is the three desires that he had concerning Srimati Radhika's praying. But still, the question remains that why does Krishna require help and assistance?
Maharaj?
Yes.
Because
The mic.
Maybe because he didn't know how.
Why not? Krishna knows everything. Krishna's all-knowing. He's omniscient. He knows everything, past, present, and future. He even states that in the Bhagavad Gita. So now you're saying that he doesn't know. You're contradicting Krishna's own words. Okay.
How about a clue, Maharaj? How about a clue to make it more
Okay,
interesting?
I'll give you a clue. It all boils down to two words and two different positions. That's your clue. I won't give any more than that.
Okay, two different positions, and what was the other one?
Two words
Two words.
that describe two different positions in Rasa Tattva.
Guru Vaishnava?
No.
Hare Krishna?
Krishna occupies a certain position, and Radha occupies a different position. Which positions?
Enjoyer and enjoyed. Enjoyer and enjoyed.
In one sense, but that's not the actual term. In one sense, it's coming close to that.
Both beloveds.
You're gonna really, you're gonna hit your forehead when you hear the answer, because you know it, but you're
Right.
not.
Okay, well, it is getting late, so
You give up. You're surrendering.
I surrender. I surrender.
Okay, here it is. Here's the actual reason, and it's a very
Oh
deep.
my God.
It's a very deep reason. Krishna is called Vishai Bhagavan, and Radha is called Ashray Bhagavan. Everything in Rasa Tattva is based upon these two positions, Vishai and Ashray. The whole science, you can see in the charts that are made up of the conception of Rasa Tattva and how it's divided into different categories. But the main division is that Krishna is the object of praying. It's called Vishai. He is the object of everyone's praying. And the devotee, and especially the position of Srimati Radhika as being his own Swarup Shakti, who is subordinate to the controller. She is her actions are based upon the position of Krishna being the supreme controller of all Shaktis, of all energies.
She's like the receptacle.
Who is?
Radharani.
Yes.
She has
Ashray.
ashram.
The
She
shelter.
has the shelter,
Yes.
and she's giving it to
Yes.
Krishna.
So, see, Krishna's position as Vishai can never really be changed. This is the whole thing about Mahaprabhu Tattva. It's very, very beautiful, wonderful Tattva. You've all heard it, you all know it, but I'm just pointing it out. How essential it was for Krishna, who is now going to attempt to become Srimati Radhika, to become her. This was his conclusion. His mind was running. I'm describing what's in the 4th chapter of Adi Lila. His mind was running and running because he had these 3 desires that arose in him. How can I fulfill these desires? Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. How can Krishna ever not be fulfilled in his desires? But his mind was running.
Also, like
How can I? Let me finish this point. His mind was running, right? And then he came to the conclusion. The only way is if I take her position. I become her. Now the Gora Tattva is all based upon this combination. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahi Anya. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna, who is now taking the role of Srimati Radhika. And how did she facilitate Krishna's taking that role? Because she bestowed upon Krishna 2 things. Her bhav and her kanti. Kanti means her beautiful golden luster. That is because her body is made of Mahabhav. So she covered Krishna completely, head to toe. He is Krishna himself, but now he has golden color. Because of the upsurge, that's how Prabhupada describes it, the upsurge of the feelings of Srimati Radhika, Krishna has become golden, right? And his attempt, his primary purpose in coming is for himself. Because he had this strong 3 desires to understand the mahima, the greatness of Srimati Radhika's prema. Kidrusho vanayaiva swadyo yena bhuta madhurima. Kidrusho vamandiya. He wanted to understand how Srimati Radhika is tasting his infinite sweetness. Sokyam chasyam mad anubhavata kidrusham veti lobhat. This verse is written by Swarup Damodar Goswami, included in the beginning of Chaitanya Charitamrita as introductory verses. Sokyam means happiness, her ecstasy, her mahabhav, the experience that she has. And as you mentioned, Krishna sees she's enjoying millions of times more than I am, you see. So this whole topic is discussed in the 4th chapter, Adi Lila, very perfectly, very completely. It's explained there. So, Tat Bhavadya Samajani, Sachigarbha Sindho Harindu. With these 3 desires, he took birth from the womb of Mother Sachi, which is like the moon arising from the ocean. When the moon arises from the ocean. So Mahaprabhu coming in this golden color, he's actually Krishna. But now his whole pastimes, for the whole time that he was on this planet, is with this one objective of going deeper and deeper and deeper into the experience of experiencing Srimati Radhika's Mahabhav prema, everything about it. Now, because Krishna is Vishai, the object of prema, he's not familiar with the experience of the ashraya, you see?
You said Maharishi's God, he knows everything.
No, but let me finish this point. He's not acquainted. He's not acquainted with the experience of Srimati Radhika. And her Astasakis, who are direct expansions of her, they know, they have experienced. So therefore, as you rightly said, first of all, Srimati Radhika herself descended in the form of Gadadhar Pandit. And there's so much exchange between Mahaprabhu, especially in Puri, at the end. Because every day he would come to the Tota Gopinath temple and hear and sit with Gadadhar Pandit, who would recite Bhagavatam and actually express all the emotions, all the deep rasa. And then Mahaprabhu, she was like Gurudev said, she was like the university, what do you call them?
Professor.
Not professor, the chief, the top in a university.
Okay.
The dean.
The dean.
The dean of the university of praying, right? And now Krishna is becoming her student. And he's hearing every day from Gadadhar Pandit. Even in the beginning in Navadvip Dham, when they were performing the dramas, and Mahaprabhu was dressed as his Shakti, potency, and he danced in so many ways. Who was on the side of the stage? Gadadhar, showing him like this, not like that, like this, you know? Coaching. So when Mahaprabhu would go back into his, for the last 18 years, Mahaprabhu was just secluded away in his room. And he would come every day to the ocean and visit with Gadadhar Pandit. And then day and night, he's in his room, Gambhira, with who? Lalita and Vishaka, who are steering him, showing him all the moods, everything, by citing different shlokas, different prayers, and all of that, and aiding the moods that were developing deep within him. They were so conversant. So, to my main point in the beginning is, why did he need to go and meet Ramananda Roy? Because of this. And when you hear Srila Sridhar Maharaj explain very nicely how he had to do this, he's also demonstrating, by the way, he's doing this for his own self. That's why he asked Ramananda Roy, what is the ultimate goal of life? And what is the process to attain it? That's his question. And then Ramananda Roy, the whole entire conversation was concerning this. And Mahaprabhu said, each level that he was suggesting, beginning with Varnashram Dharma and so forth, no, this is external. No, this is external. But then when he came into the realm of praying, and particularly into conjugal love, and particularly Srimati Radhika, then Mahaprabhu, yes, this is the purpose for which I've come to you, and now I'm attaining it from you. So he had to experience through these personalities in order to fully taste all of those moods, you see. So Ramananda Roy was a little bit shy to speak to Mahaprabhu because of the external consideration, right? That he's a sannyasi, I'm just in Shudra category. Then Mahaprabhu, he told him, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Shudra Keni Noi, Jai Krishna, Tattva Veta, say Guru Hoy. It doesn't matter whether one is a Brahmin, whether one is a sannyasi, whether one is a Shudra. That person, Jai Krishna Tattva Veta, that person who fully knows Krishna Tattva, say Guru Hoy. He is Guru. You see. So, in this way, these verses being cited by Bhaktivinoda Thakur are showing how Mahaprabhu wanted so much to hear from Ramananda Roy. And in this discussion, we've thoroughly analyzed that topic. You should never forget this, ever. Because this is the essence of Gaur Tattva, the essence. And if someone does not understand this, they'll not be able to understand Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's why Gurudev said you have to study the 4th chapter. And I'm telling you this because Gurudev told us this so many times, and I made it my point to study it. Not just once, because there's so much there to be understood very, very deeply. And also, Ramananda Roy Sambad. These 2 chapters are the key to understanding all the moods of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Gurudev produced the book, the Ramananda Sambad, which was very important to Gurudev. And this 4th chapter, this actually, you could make a book on it, Maharaj. Maybe that'll be something.
There already is.
Where is it?
When Gurudev came to the West, the first book that was made from his lectures was produced in Australia.
Oh, the Pinnacle of Devotion.
Yes.
Yes. That's
And then later on, but it wasn't called that. It was called Nectar Sprinkles on Australia.
Right.
We were there. Shamarani was given the instruction. So it was a small book, but then later they combined it with his lectures on the 4th chapter in the beginning of his US tour, you see. They combined it together and it's called the Pinnacle of Devotion. If you read that, everything's there.
It is. That is truly an amazing.
Yes.
That was one of the first books I read, and I was like, stunned.
Yes. So we went a little bit over, but we don't have Jai Govinda impatiently informing.
Maharaj, that was very nice how you tied that together with that conception of them being the reservoir of the pleasure to give to Krishna, and that he needed all three, Lalita, Vishaka, so he got Ramananda Roy, but then also Gadadhar Pandit. So all three were there very specifically in Puri towards the end, as you explained it, because Lalita and Vishaka know the moods of Radharani and had those similar potencies, not to the same degree, but they could help Mahaprabhu. And during the day, he would hear from Gadadhar.
They had similar potencies, but not to the same degree. What do you mean? Who
Well, Lalita and Vishaka have similar potencies to Radharani.
Potencies.
Not to the same level as her. She's the highest.
Yeah.
But being her direct Astasakis, they could also give to Krishna.
Because they have the moods.
The mood. Well, when I say mood, potency.
Well, when you say potency, that means something else.
Okay, same moods.
Yes.
Yeah, as Radharani. But as Gurudev explained, it's very important to note, he said, like Maharaj was saying, during the day, he would go to Tota Gopinath and he would get class. They would all go, and Gadadhar Pandit would give class. Then Gurudev said, then in the evening, he would go back to the Gambhira, and then he would practice what he learned in the class with and under the guidance of Lalita and Vishaka.
Yes. Okay, Jai Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamritam ki Jai, Jai Srila Rupa Goswami Pada ki Jai, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki Jai, Gaur Premanande, Vansha Kalpadavascha Kripa Sindhuve Cha Patitanam Pavane.
So how does this work again?